Hello, dear astrology lovers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexandra, and I'm a professional ESAR certified astrologer. In today's video, we're covering the astrological transits for August 2026 and what a month it's going to be. We're entering the eclipse season, and on top of that, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Sun are all changing signs. Also, Mercury has just finished its retrograde journey through Cancer, and we're all eager to finally accelerate and move forward again. If July was marked by delays, misunderstandings, a melancholic mood with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, insecurity as well, or questioning different areas of your life, August is going to be quite the opposite. We're all going to feel a noticeable shift in energy, not only because Mercury is now moving direct, but also because of all the other planetary shifts taking place throughout the month. And now let's see what you can expect on a personal level. Hello, dear Libra Rising. This is your horoscope for August 2026. And all I can say at the very beginning is what an amazing start to the month. Venus, your ruler, is entering Libra in your first house, of course, on August the 6th. And Venus feels great in this beautiful and sophisticated sign because it rules it. And just a few days later, on the 9th, Mercury will enter Leo in your 11th house. When these planetary changes happen, Venus in Libra in your first house, Mercury in Leo in the 11th, and Uranus in Gemini in the 9th will form a harmonious lotus configuration. In case you're not familiar with it, it's a harmonious and well-balanced configuration that consists of two sextiles and a trine. And for you, it means that the first half of the month could bring positive changes on a personal level. With Venus in Libra in your first house, you could pay more attention to personal care, the way you dress, and youth in general. It doesn't mean that you're already not paying attention to that. I'm not trying to say that, but with Venus transiting your first house in Libra, you could feel that additional boost of motivation to dedicate more energy and time to all these beautiful things. And it can simply make you feel great about yourself. And when it comes to Uranus, the ruler of your fifth house, for some of you, this could mean falling in love completely unexpectedly. Besides being in sextile with Mercury in Leo within the Lotus configuration, Venus will also be in sextile with Jupiter. More precisely, Mercury and Jupiter will be in conjunction in Leo in the 11th house and in sextile with Venus. And this could add to the overall atmosphere of falling in love completely unexpectedly, especially if you have a harmonious aspect between Venus and Uranus in your birth chart. And I'm mentioning your birth chart because that's the base of everything that's happening. It's your universe, your world, and whenever the planetary aspects in the sky resemble the aspects that you have in your birth chart, then your natal potential can get activated. For some, these beautiful love aspects that involve the 11th house and Uranus could also mean falling in love with someone who comes through your friends. So it could be a friend or a friend of a friend. Overall, the 11th house will be quite active around mid-August because there will be a powerful stellium consisting of 4 planets, specifically on the 12th, because there will be the moon as well. So it will consist of Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, and the moon around the 12th, which is very important because there will be a solar eclipse on the 12th of August. But I will explain that in detail a bit later. When it comes to the harmonious aspects between these planets in Leo and Venus in your first house and Uranus in the 9th, this could be really felt on an energetic level and when it comes to your overall circumstances, because again, Venus is your ruler, so all the aspects it has can trigger you. Again, especially if some of them already exist in in your birth chart, maybe not in the same form, but similar contacts between all these planets. And positive connection between Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter can literally represent a blessing from the universe. There could be some positive twists and turns, positive surprises, also positive news coming from your friends. And there will be another harmonious configuration, which is a beautiful grand trine between Venus, Pluto in Aquarius in your fifth house, and Uranus in Gemini in the ninth house. So this could trigger some deep changes on a personal level and maybe even in the way you value yourself, because Pluto rules your second house and Venus is its natural ruler. Of course, this is a fast transit. Venus will move and it's not going to last for too long, but it is an opportunity to rethink the way you value yourself. And when it comes to the circumstances, again, some positive surprises can happen in your environment. This configuration could also inspire you to rethink the way you approach your love life. Uranus and Aquarius and are all about truth and honesty, and of course Pluto in Aquarius is about deep changes. So what are the values you don't want to compromise on in your relationships anymore? And on the other hand, Venus in Libra in your first house will be forming an opposition to Neptune and Saturn in Aries in your seventh house. So now we are starting to discuss a bit challenging aspects, because the beginning of August is quite positive, but we also have some afflictions that are important to take into consideration. And in this case, Venus, your ruler in your first house, will be opposed to Neptune and Saturn in the seventh house. So this axis represents relationships, and relationships are extremely important to you because you're a Libra. So we have this affliction, and then when Mars enters Cancer on the 11th of August, right before the eclipse, it will form a T square with Venus and Neptune, and also later with Saturn. This can impact your relationships. There will be this contrast in configurations, the lotus and the grand trine on one side, and then a T square on the other. So this could mean for you easily falling for someone, but then maybe even getting disappointed later on. So it's important to recognize, to notice if you are subconsciously starting to wear rose colored glasses. If you have a conjunction, a square, or an opposition between Venus and Neptune in your birth chart, stay alert in August, because their repeated contact could actually trigger your natal potential, and then there can be a tendency to be a little bit delusional in relationships with other people. So try to stay realistic. And this is especially strong because Venus is your ruler, so you could really feel it. So approach relationships with caution in August and navigate slowly through them. Try to be realistic from the very beginning if there happen to be any new acquaintances or romantic opportunities and so on. And also, in the second half of the month, Venus, Mars, and Saturn will be forming a T square, as I mentioned. So, with Venus in your first house and Saturn in the seventh, this could significantly impact your relationships with other people and, of course, with your partner. There might be some coldness or tension, obstacles, conflicts, even, or for some breakups. Of course, not for everyone. I'm trying to cover as many possibilities as possible, but this is a general reading, and then every birth chart is different. Every person has a different potential, but the general meaning is this one. So take what resonates and leave the rest. Overall, August could bring some opportunities for love, but it's not particularly beneficial because of the afflictions that I just covered. Things could seem great in the beginning, but later the atmosphere could change. So stay vigilant. My advice for you, Libra Rising, would be to try to be as realistic as you can in August and observe rather than act immediately. Also, try to avoid making things look nicer than they really are. Just accept the truth and the reality, especially in your relationships with other people, and listen to your gut feeling. And another important thing about the T square between Mars, Venus, Neptune, and later Saturn is that Mars is the ruler of your second house and Venus rules the eighth. So the T square could refer to your finances as well. Be aware of potential fraud and manage your money carefully. If you have similar afflictions in your birth chart, again, the second half of the month could bring some delays in payments or some challenges when it comes to transactions, purchases, shopping, and so on. So, pay a little bit of attention when it comes to this area of your life. Of course, the good news is that this is just a temporary issue. Mars and Venus are fast moving planets, so let it pass. And also, Mars will be in its fall in your 10th house, which is the house of goals, career, and authority figures, and it will be squaring Venus, your ruler. This is important, and this can really be felt on a personal level. Again, if you have a similar connection between Mars and Venus in your birth chart, it can include a conjunction, an opposition, or a square. And there might be also some tension between you and your boss, even because it's the 10th house or any type of authority figures that you have in your life. So with Neptune, there could be also some misunderstandings. And yeah, just keep this in mind and remember that Mars is driven by emotions, and sometimes it can be very reactive or passive aggressive. So try to avoid conflicts and confrontations, especially at work and people who are on a higher level when it comes to your work environment and in general. Just don't let your feelings overwhelm you, and just let this August pass. Focus more on the positive aspects that I covered at the beginning of the video. And then also, with the square between Mars in its fall and Saturn in its fall, of course, you could feel that maybe somebody is not supporting you enough, or maybe that somebody has let you down, or circumstances are not in your favor. Again, depending on your birth chart, but try to move focus toward the things that truly make you happy, especially with Venus in the first house. And on the 12th, there will be a solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo on the south node, and this eclipse will fall into your 11th house. So, if you have any planets around this degree of Leo, you could experience significant changes over the next 6 months, especially when it comes to your friends and social circles. The conjunction is absolutely the strongest aspect, and then if you have any planets around 20 degrees of the other fire signs, as well as the air and fixed signs, this eclipse could shake them up and awaken their natal potential. So check which houses they rule and what kind of story they have to offer. And speaking of friends, the following 6 months could bring significant events and new beginnings in that area of your life. The eclipse is happening on the south node, so it could mean making space for new connections. Some friendships might come to an end because they don't belong in your life anymore. So maybe you've outgrown certain connections, but you're still sticking to them simply because you're used to them. This solar eclipse could change that, maybe not immediately, but in the following weeks and months. And there could be some powerful new beginnings and karmic connections. A solar eclipse is also a new moon, so new people could enter your life. And right from the beginning, they could feel so familiar because of the south node. So those are karmic connections where souls actually recognize each other. A person might be new to you right now, but on the soul level, it's very familiar. Also, the 11th house is the house of astrology, social media, humanitarian work, and retirement. Some of you might step into new experiences in these areas. If you are into astrology, you could start learning it more seriously, especially with Mercury and Jupiter there, forming a sextile with Uranus in your ninth house. The ninth house is the house of studies, and this could also be education in online marketing and content creation. After this eclipse, some of you might become more visible in the digital world because Uranus is involved. You might decide to share your skills and talents with others. And I spoke about this in more detail in my video about Jupiter's transit through Leo, so you can check it out. There's a separate video for each rising sign, so you will find it super easily. And the stellium and the eclipse in Leo in mid-August are so beneficial for creative work in the digital world for you. So try to make the most of them. And around the time of the eclipse, Mercury, the ruler of your 12th and ninth houses, will be in opposition to Pluto in your fifth house. This is important to mention as well. So pay attention to communication, especially with friends, because Mercury will be in the 11th house. Mercury in Leo can be quite dramatic, especially when it's afflicted by Pluto. So don't let things trigger you too easily in the days surrounding the eclipse. Those days can be quite sensitive and very intense on an energetic level. And this could also apply to your potential or existing romantic partner because the fifth house is involved, and we already have other tense aspects in the sky involving Mars and Venus. And then moving closer toward the end of the month, on the 23rd, the Sun will enter Virgo in your 12th house, and on the 25th, Mercury will follow. Both of these planets will be squared by Uranus in Gemini in your ninth house. So the end of the month could be a little stressful. You could have a lot of things going on in the back of your mind. There might be some situations that you'll overanalyze, and the affliction will be active until the end of the month. And on the 28th, we'll have a lunar eclipse on the North Node at 4 degrees of Pisces in your sixth house. If you have any planets around 4 degrees of Pisces and the other mutable signs, as well as the earth and water signs, this eclipse could trigger significant changes. As I said, this eclipse will fall into your sixth house, and on the day of the eclipse, the Sun will be in conjunction with Mercury in your 12th house, and together with the Moon in the sixth, they'll be forming a T square with Uranus in Gemini in the ninth. This could shake up your nervous system a little bit, especially through overthinking. It doesn't have to be anything like too big, but a little bit of stress. And for some, it could also bring changes in the workplace. The effect of an eclipse could be felt for 6 months after it, so the period that follows could bring significant changes, primarily in your habits, health, and work. Some of you could decide to change their habits and adopt a much healthier lifestyle, and some might leave or maybe even lose their old job so that you can move on and pursue something better. Remember that this eclipse is happening on the North Node, which is quite beneficial and works like Jupiter. So maybe it's time for radical changes and growth in your everyday life and in your work. In your work, because sometimes we're too afraid to leave our comfort zone, and when that's the case, Uranus can push us in the form of circumstances. People often complain so much about the job they're doing. They hate the job, they hate the environment, they hate everything about it, but they're still sticking to it for different reasons. And then Uranus comes and sets you free. Uranus is not there to destroy something just for the sake of destroying it. Uranus represents freedom, and it can release you from the job that you hate. And it can be stressful, and it's usually a crisis, but it's actually also an opportunity to finally do something about it and find something better. So for some of you, this can be the case. Of course, it's not for everyone because, first of all, for events to be activated, the eclipse has to fall on a planet or house cusp or form an aspect with the planet in your birth chart. If the eclipse is activating something in your horoscope, and on top of that, you have similar aspects with Uranus, it would bring some unexpected events and sudden changes. Overall, try to stay grounded in the last week of August and remember that change is often an opportunity for growth and expansion, even if it doesn't seem like that in the beginning. To sum everything up, August is a super dynamic month. Try to make the most of the positive aspects happening in your 11th house and try to relax at the end of the month. Try to stay grounded and, of course, be vigilant when it comes to relationships and contacts with other people. I hope you found this video useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. It will help it grow, and at the same time, you will stay up to date with my monthly horoscopes and other astrology videos. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.